Hi, I'm Natasha Busst, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Vehicle entry permit full enforcement to begin on July 1st. And Donald Trump doubles tariffs on imported steel and aluminium. Good morning. We begin with this story just in. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the government will look into a policy for the use of low-altitude airspace and drone mobility. Responding to a question regarding the use of low-altitude airspace for mobility at the Higher Education Ministry's Ilmuwan Malaysia Madani on Wednesday night, Anwar said drone operations so far have been limited to remote areas and acknowledged the need to study the matter further. The Prime Minister said the matter will be raised in Thursday's cabinet meeting. The forum, titled Transport for the People, Balancing Affordability, Quality and Sustainability of Public Transport, was organized by the Higher Education Ministry and serves as an interactive platform to discuss challenges and strategic approaches aimed at strengthening the country's public transportation system to be more inclusive, affordable and sustainable. Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister extended his warmest congratulations to Lee JaeMyung on his election as the President of South Korea. He said it marks a turning point for South Korea, a nation that has emerged from a period of intense contest and scrutiny with resilience and democratic resolve. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Anwar said Malaysia, as chair of ASEAN for 2025, hopes to see ASEAN play a more prominent role in South Korea's regional outlook. South Korea currently chairs the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC. Anwar also wished Lee wisdom and success in the journey ahead and said he looks forward to meeting him in Kuala Lumpur this October for the ASEAN Summit and again in Gyeongju, South Korea for the APEC Economic Leaders meeting later that month. Over in South Korea, new President Lee JaeMyung has vowed to heal wounds and rebuild unity in his first address after a landslide election victory. The Liberal leader took office on Wednesday, promising to reverse months of political turmoil and economic strain that followed the ouster of former President Yoon Suk-yeol. In his inaugural speech, Lee called for dialogue with North Korea, saying his administration would deter provocations while pursuing peace on the peninsula. On the economic front, Lee warned of rising global protectionism and vowed to address cost of living pressures at home as trade tensions with the U.S. under President Donald Trump continue to escalate. Lee's decisive win marks a shift in South Korea's political landscape, with voter turnout at its highest level in nearly 3 decades. Back home, the Prime Minister has reaffirmed his commitment to the rule of law following the High Court's decision to dismiss his bid to refer 8 constitutional questions to the federal court. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the application was made under the federal constitution and was never intended to seek personal immunity or evade legal scrutiny. In a social media post on Wednesday, Anwar explained that the application is based on the need to ensure that the highest public offices are protected from litigation that may be orchestrated for strategic, politically motivated purposes or to disrupt institutions. In his comments on the Kuala Lumpur High Court's decision on his reference application to the Apex Court, Anwar said the legal process will continue and he will carry out his responsibilities as Prime Minister without distraction or compromise. In the High Court decision, Judge Rosmawa Rosain held that the defendant's application did not meet the requirements under the Courts of Judicature Act. The application includes the question of whether the Prime Minister enjoys immunity from legal suits. The court ruled that the defense did not present any arguments raising substantial legal issues warranting a determination by the federal court. The judge also said the questions raised by the defense did not involve the interpretation or validity of any constitutional provisions. Following the verdict, the court ordered for the lawsuit filed by Muhammad Yusuf Rother to proceed on June 16th.
We respectfully disagree.
Following the decision, Anwar's lawyer, Datuk Sri Rajasegran Krishnan, affirmed that his client will file an appeal. The legal questions, he said, involve serious constitutional issues, including the protection of executive functions, the risk of politically motivated litigation, and the interpretation of several constitutional provisions.
We will also be applying for an immediate stay of trial proceedings to preserve the integrity of the appeal process and ensure that the defendant is not prematurely subjected to proceedings that may ultimately be held to be constitutionally impermissible and that may harm the functioning of his office. The constitutional questions raised
Malaysia and Guinea-Bissau are set to strengthen bilateral ties by positioning each other as regional hubs to boost trade, investment and cooperation following the visit of the African nation's President Umaro Sissoco Embalo. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia will serve as Guinea-Bissau's gateway to ASEAN, while Guinea-Bissau will act as Malaysia's entry point into Africa. The two leaders made their statements at a joint media conference held in Putrajaya on Wednesday. Anwar expressed hope that Malaysia's major companies will explore the potential for bilateral cooperation in the oil and gas and plantation sectors, while also offering technical assistance and training to the West African nation under various potential areas of strategic cooperation.
Guinea-Bissau with Malaysia has been a very low-key engagement in the past. That's why I think President Umaro's visit is very significant. He has with that vision to work with us, to engage with Malaysia as a base for the ASEAN region.
Embalo said Guinea-Bissau is also open to learning from Malaysia's experience in developing various key sectors such as education, healthcare and industry.
We want to be the key of Malaysia in Africa. And Malaysia can be the key for us, not in Asia, but in the world. Yeah.
Earlier, Embalo received an official welcome at the Perdana Putra complex to kickstart his official 3-day visit to Malaysia, followed by a meeting with Anwar. The visit marks his first official trip to Malaysia since assuming office as the Republic's president in February 2020. In 2024, Malaysia's total trade with Guinea-Bissau stood at 4.1 million ringgit, with 4.04 million ringgit in exports and 60,000 ringgit in imports. The extreme heat affecting several districts in Malaysia is due to the southwest monsoon, which typically brings less rainfall nationwide and leads to higher temperatures during dry periods. Malaysian Meteorological Department Met Malaysia Director General Dr. Muhammad Hisham Muhammad Anip said the hot conditions are expected to continue until September. Muhammad Hisham, however, said temperatures are likely to return to normal in the coming days as more areas are forecast to receive rain in the early mornings and late afternoons. The public have been advised to stay hydrated and avoid prolonged outdoor activity to reduce health risks. The Vehicle Entry Permit or VEP system for Singaporean vehicles entering Malaysia will take full effect from July 1st. Transport Minister Anthony Loke Siew Fook, announcing this on Wednesday, said some 36,000 Singaporean cars have yet to install the tags, which will constitute an offence once the VEP system takes full effect. The VEP, introduced on October 1st last year, was initially enforced in phases, starting with reminder notices to Singapore-registered vehicle owners who had yet to register for the permit.
Kalau mereka tak ada VEP yang sah dan mereka memasuki Malaysia, mereka akan dikenakan saman RM300. Dan saman itu perlu dibayar sebelum mereka meninggalkan Malaysia.
Until the summons is paid or the RFID tag is installed, offenders will not be allowed to leave the country. The minister said the RTD or Road Transport Department will only accept non-cash payments as a way to curb bribery. Summonses are to be paid either at an RTD counter or online via the MyEG platform. Currently, motorcycles are temporarily exempt from the VEP requirement, though the government plans to make it mandatory in the future. The VEP system was first mooted in 2017 to combat cross-border crimes like car theft, as well as curtailing widespread road rules violations by Singaporean car owners who often escape enforcement. Following the Transport Minister's announcement, Singaporeans rushed to VEP centres around Johor Bahru on Wednesday evening. They were mostly shocked by the latest development.
Last October, yeah. So after that, there wasn't any news about this one, when it will be ready or what will happen. So everybody just laid back, wait for the news to come out again. Then now semua orang kalang kabut terus datang sini office.
They also expressed hope for the VEP enforcement date to be extended due to technical issues related to the registration and installation of VEP RFID tags that will need to be resolved beforehand. In a move that has sent shockwaves through global markets, U.S. President Donald Trump has implemented a 50% tariff on imported steel and aluminium effective Wednesday. This decision doubles the previous 25% levies and is aimed at revitalizing domestic metal industries under the guise of national security. While the United Kingdom has secured a temporary exemption, major trade partners like Canada and Mexico express deep concern over the potential economic fallout. Canadian officials also warn of catastrophic job losses in their metal sector. Meanwhile, domestically, industry leaders welcome the move, anticipating a boost for U.S. steel and aluminium producers. However, economists caution that the tariffs may lead to higher costs for manufacturers and consumers, potentially slowing economic growth. As the global community grapples with the implications of this policy shift, trade negotiations are also expected to intensify in the coming weeks. Industry players are concerned that Trump's latest tariff hikes may indirectly affect the manufacturing sector. The Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, or FMM, explained that the tariff changes may impact global trade despite Malaysia not being a major exporter of steel and aluminium. In a statement, the FMM said the tariffs could prompt major exporters such as Canada, Brazil and Mexico to divert their supply to this region, placing pricing pressure on local producers. The FMM supports the government's efforts in having early discussions with the U.S. to address the impact of the tariffs on the country's export products, as it is crucial to ensure the competitiveness of local products in the global market. The ASEAN manufacturing sector recorded a slight performance uptick in May, with the leading index inching up to 49.2 from 48.7 in April. According to the latest S&P Global ASEAN Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, the modest uptick was supported by a softer and marginal rate of output contraction. On a slightly more positive note, S&P Global noted that cost pressures have eased, with companies raising charges only marginally. Input costs were at its slowest pace in 5 years, while selling prices increased slightly across the region. ASEAN's manufacturing sector continued to face challenges as it reached the midpoint of the second quarter. Despite the subdued performance, manufacturers reported a slightly more optimistic outlook for output in the year ahead. Malaysia is among the leading destinations for European holiday makers this summer, retaining its spot as the fourth most searched Asian destination for the second consecutive year. This insight comes from digital travel platform Agoda's latest Europe to Asia summer travel trends report, which analyzes accommodation searches for July and August, the peak European summer travel months. While Thailand, Indonesia and Japan claimed the top 3 positions and Vietnam made its debut in the top 5, Malaysia distinguished itself with the most significant surge in interest among the leading destinations. The country experienced a notable 20% increase in searches compared to last year, highlighting its growing appeal. Within Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur continues to be the most searched destination, followed by the pristine Perhentian Islands and the popular island of Langkawi. Malaysia's sustained strong performance is attributed to the country's rich cultural heritage, stunning natural landscapes, and warm hospitality. Man charged with trafficking more than 6 kilograms of drugs. This and more after the break.
Nak kerja buat apa? Ni aku nak buka bisnes kopi untuk kita ni. Konsep bisnes kita ni mewah. Biji kopi tu sini kena rare.
Drama bersiri sulung Nik Amir Mustafa.
Aku rasa aku tak boleh jual lah band ni.
Lelaki tak bercerita, tapi diam-diam je. Move on, bina life baru.
Tapi perangai you macam...
Tepi. Ya, you tak apa, you okey.
Muat turun dan layan tonton sekarang. Semua favourite anda di sini.
Ini kisah kita semua penuh drama.
41 tahun TV3 berkongsi cerita bersama rakyat Malaysia.
Rasa nak makan yang rebus-rebus?
Boleh aja, macam-macam ada.
Dalam mendidik perlu ada seni dan sabar.
Jangan sampai niat mendidik menjadi satu bentuk hukuman pula.
Pernahkah anda dengar tentang SLE?
Ketahui penyakit autoimun yang sering menyerang kaum wanita.
Berkorban dalam diam tapi diri keletihan.
Pengorbanan kadang tak disedari tapi besar artinya.
Semuanya di WHI TV3
dan stream sekarang di Tonton.
Wanita hari ini. A woman's spirit is boundless. So grab your coffee cups and wear your sassiest smile. Because this season, we're louder than ever. We talk career, health, finance, relationships, and everything in between. Women's Talk is here to empower and inspire you. Join us on Women's Talk every Saturday, 5 p.m. only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Peningnya, kecil ke besar, besar ke kecil? Mestilah I nak yang besar. Persoalannya, saiz apa yang puas? Mestilah saiz 65 inci. Lagi besar, lagi layan.
Juara!
Wow! Lagi layan tengok tonton dekat smart TV besar. 99 sen je.
Lagi besar skrin, lagi puas stream. Layan tonton di smart TV, repeat sampai pagi.
Welcome back. The Court of Appeal has allowed the Malaysian government's appeal against a High Court ruling that had previously favoured 50 retired members of the Malaysian Armed Forces in a legal dispute over pension adjustments. In a unanimous decision, the 3-member appellate panel ruled that the government and its co-appellants, the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister and the Malaysian Armed Forces Council, did not breach the federal constitution in their treatment of pensions for military personnel who retired before January 1st, 2013. Justice Dato' Hashim Hamzah, who chaired the panel, was joined by Justices Dato' Wong Kian Keong and Dato' Ismail Brahim. The court found that the government had not placed the claimants in a less favourable position and had not violated the federal constitution, which protects pension rights. The appeal was allowed with no order as to costs. The retired military personnel sought a declaration in 2022 that the government had violated the federal constitution and the Armed Forces Act by failing to implement updated pension adjustments for those who retired before 2013. In Johor, an unemployed man was charged in the Pontian Magistrates Court on Wednesday with 4 counts of drug trafficking and 1 for possession involving more than 6.4 kilograms of drugs. 35-year-old Lau Kiet Lim pleaded not guilty to all 3 possession charges before Magistrate Arina Asmin Ahmad Marzuki. The offences were allegedly committed at a house in Taman Mutiara, Pontian on May 21st. For the trafficking offence, Lau was charged under the Dangerous Drugs Act, which carries the mandatory death penalty or life imprisonment of up to 40 years and no fewer than 12 strokes of the cane if not sentenced to death. For drug possession, he was charged under the same act, which carries a maximum fine of 100,000 ringgit or a jail term of up to 5 years or both upon conviction. The court ordered that no bail be granted and fixed mention for all 3 cases on August 5th. In Pulau Pinang, residents of a 20-story flat in Payat Terubung experienced a tense moment on Wednesday when a unit on the 15th floor caught fire. No casualties were reported in the 1:45 p.m. blaze. Residents noticed flames and thick black smoke, prompting them to evacuate the premises immediately. Firefighters took 1 hour to fully extinguish the fire. The incident resulted in an estimated 40% damage to the affected unit. The cause of the fire and the total losses are being investigated. Israeli military halts aid distribution to Gaza. The details when Nightline returns.
Ini kisah kita semua penuh drama.
41 tahun TV3 berkongsi cerita bersama rakyat Malaysia.
Rasa nak makan yang rebus-rebus?
Boleh aja, macam-macam ada.
Dalam mendidik perlu ada seni dan sabar.
Jangan sampai niat mendidik menjadi satu bentuk hukuman pula.
Pernahkah anda dengar tentang SLE?
Ketahui penyakit autoimun yang sering menyerang kaum wanita.
Berkorban dalam diam tapi diri keletihan.
Pengorbanan kadang tak disedari tapi besar artinya.
Semuanya di WHI TV3
dan stream sekarang di Tonton.
Wanita hari ini.
Ada idea drama yang boleh viral atau nak jadi pelakon di TV3? Pitch story korang selama 10 minit berserta slide presentation ke TV3. Atau sertai pencarian pelakon drama sangat pada 14 Jun di Universiti Malaya dan Dallas University 21 Jun. Berumur 18 hingga 25 tahun. Tak kisah nak genre romantik, komedi, cinta atau isu semasa pun boleh. Menang hadiah terkumpul RM9,000 jika idea korang diterbitkan oleh Media Prima. Atau boleh berlakon sekali dalam karya drama sangat.
A woman's spirit is boundless. So grab your coffee cups and wear your sassiest smile. Because this season, we're louder than ever. We talk career, health, finance, relationships, and everything in between. Women's Talk is here to empower and inspire you. Join us on Women's Talk every Saturday, 5 p.m. only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Hai kawan-kawan, kawan-kawan pernah tak rasa tak selesa bila ada orang cuba sentuh badan kita? Kawan-kawan ingat tahu badan kita ni milik kita. Kalau ada orang sentuh tapi izin, korang cakap tidak. Lepas tu korang bagi tahu ibu bapa ataupun cikgu ataupun kakak dan abang, okey?
Betul tu. Ingat, tak ada orang yang boleh buat kita rasa takut dan tak selesa. Kita berhak rasa selamat dan dilindungi.
On to foreign news. Israeli strikes have killed nearly 100 people in Gaza over the past 24 hours as the military intensified operations across the enclave while humanitarian aid deliveries were halted for a day. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation on Wednesday said it paused operations for reorganization and renovation work. However, Israeli forces warned that roads leading to aid centers are now active combat zones. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council is set to vote on a new resolution calling for a ceasefire and full humanitarian access, though a US veto is expected. Meanwhile, the United Nations is sounding the alarm over aid deliveries to Gaza, saying less than 80% of trucks cleared by Israel are reaching the enclave. Officials on Tuesday said only half of the supply submitted for final Israeli clearance since mid-May have made it to the Palestinian side. Of over 1,200 pre-cleared truckloads, just over 620 have crossed into Gaza, and aid supplies of only around 370 have actually been distributed. It was also revealed that 10 out of 13 humanitarian operations were denied by Israel on Monday, including efforts to deliver water and fuel. The 2025 Hajj commenced under sweltering conditions in Mecca on Wednesday, with temperatures surging above 40 degrees Celsius. Saudi authorities have implemented enhanced heat mitigation measures to prevent a recurrence of last year's tragedy, where over 1,300 pilgrims died due to extreme heat. These measures include the installation of over 400 high-powered cooling units, expansion of shaded areas, and deployment of misting systems across key ritual sites. Additionally, AI-powered drones are being used to monitor crowd movements and ensure safety. In a bid to manage crowds, Saudi Arabia has barred over 269,000 unauthorized individuals from entering Mecca for the pilgrimage. Violators face fines of up to $5,000 and a 10-year ban. Sports now. Badminton at the 2025 Indonesia Open in Jakarta. Malaysia's national shuttlers delivered a strong showing on Wednesday, with 4 doubles pairs advancing into the second round. Mixed doubles duo Goh Soon Huat and Siobhan Lai made light work of Thailand's Puanat Horbanlukit and Subsiri Terat Tanachai, cruising to a 21-12, 21-16 victory in just 31 minutes. The world number 5 pair will next face Indonesia's Amri Shanawi and Nita Violina Marwa. Earlier, Chen Tangjie and To Iwei, in only their second tournament since reuniting, edged out India's world number 17 Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Krasto. The world number 4 pair fought hard for a 21-11, 16-21, 21-14 win in just under an hour, setting up a clash with Denmark's Mats Vestergaard and Christine Busch Andresen. In women's doubles, world number 4 Pearly Tan and M. Tina opened their campaign with a solid straight sets win over Chinese Taipei's Sung Shuo Yun and Yu Chen Hui. The duo closed out the match 21-16, 21-17 in 42 minutes and will next face Indonesia's Lani Mayasari and Siti Ramadanti. Also through, young pair Ong Sin Yi and Carmen Ting, who recovered from a slow start to defeat Indonesia's Isyana Shahira Mida and Rinjani Quinara Nastin 10-21, 21-14, 21-17. They will next take on Japan's Kie Nakanishi and Rin Iwanaga. Moving on to squash, the 2025 British Open in Birmingham. National women's ace S. Siva Sangari carved out her best personal achievement, storming into the last 8 of the British Open for the first time on Tuesday. The 26-year-old earned her maiden quarter-finals appearance after defeating 7th seed Satomi Watanabe of Japan 11-9, 11-9, 4-11, 11-4 in just 45 minutes. Siva Sangari started strongly, winning the first 2 games before Watanabe fought back in the third, denying a potential straight games victory. The world number 9 wrapped up the match in the 4th game, marking her 7th win over Japan's number 1 in all their meetings. Siva Sangari will next take on 4th seed Amina Orfi of Egypt in the last 8 clash. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we go, let's take a look at London, where a new immersive installation is drawing visitors with its ever-changing AI-generated images of the natural world, blurring the line between technology and art. With that, I'm Natasha, and thank you for watching.